Today on the channel, we are going to do brakes and rotors on the Jeep Renegade Trailhawk. Hey, what is up everybody? Today on the channel we are going to do a brake and rotor change on the 2016 Jeep Renegade Trailhawk. Here I got some Fabz brake pads that I picked up from A&A Truck and Off-Road here in Dallas, PA, along with the rotors. If you guys looking for get your brakes or rotors done and you need some parts, check them out. I'd like to thank Josh and Katie and Pat for helping us get these parts together so we could get this job done. So let me get you over to the side that we'll be doing and we'll get started. Alright guys, once you have some of the tools you'll need, I have an impact gun which makes it a lot easier taking the wheel off. So if you guys are wearing headphones, remove your headphones, turn the volume down. I'm going to blast this wheel off. Okay guys, once you get that done, and here are the lug nuts that are on the Jeep. Usually I'm used to the vehicles with the studs on the hub, but these are on the lug nuts. So it's nice having the project truck behind me here, because I could put these, use the running board as a shelf and put these on the shelf. So just take off your wheel, and the reason why I'm changing these is because I noticed on the other side the rotor started getting grooves in it. So I picked up a new rotor for that side. I figure I'd just do both sides of it. So once you pull your wheel off, then what you'll want to do is there's two nuts, they're star bolts. Loosen them in the back to get your caliper, to remove the caliper. And I will take you around and show you what bolts on the back side that need to come off. And that's only to take the rotor off. If I wasn't taking the rotor off, I won't even bother with them bolts. I would just do the two top bolts here that hold the caliper on to the caliper bracket. So I'll take you around, show you underneath there what it looks like and what bolts I'll be taking it off. And I'll explain that again to you. Alright, this is about the best view that I could give you to show you what bolts you need to remove or loosen to take the caliper off the rotor, and what you would need here. And here is the bolt right here that I was talking about. That's a what is it? Right here. That's a star head, and they do make sockets for that, but since I didn't really know that they were that type of bolt on this vehicle, I'm using a 12-point socket to get these off. And then here's the other bolts that remove the caliper from the caliper bracket that holds it to the knuckle here. So, and what I'm using here is a size 16 millimeter 12-point socket to get these bolts off. And then I'll be using a 14 millimeter socket to get these bolts off. And we'll get to doing that. And what I'm using is a breaker bar to start them. And then I'll move over into a regular ratchet because I'm sure they're on there pretty good. Alright, that one busted loose a little bit. And being that I don't have the star socket, I'm just taking my time to do it so I don't ruin the head, which I will have to run out and get some of those sockets. There. Like I said, I just used the breaker bar to bust them loose a little bit. Don't really hammer down on them. Then I'll just use my ratchet to finish taking them off. But I'll loosen them up a little bit more. and I'll get the top one loose. Okay, now I will not remove these until I loosen these up. That way it's easier to loosen them up. Whoop. Alright. And I'll show you why I just loosened them up. So I'm going to finish taking these out, and then I'll show you, take you around the other side of me and show you where we go from there. Alright, so now that you have your bolts loosened and taken out, so what the next step you do, or let me show you what the bolts look like that I was talking about. These are the bolts that I was talking about that are the star-shaped ones. So after you get those out, get a pry bar, and all you do is just work the caliper bracket and the caliper free from the rotor. And they give you a short hose, so just get this up on out of the way for now, because then what I'll do is disconnect the take these back bolts out. I'll finish taking them out, which we already pre-loosened them, so it won't be hard to take those out. And these are the little bolts I was telling you about that holds the caliper to the caliper bracket. They're small. And then here's the brake pads that I'll be changing. I'll just put this to the side right for right now, and then I'll get my rope and I will tie this caliper bracket up so it doesn't fall, because we are going to be replacing the rotor. Now if I wasn't replacing the rotor, I wouldn't have removed the bracket from the rotor. I would have left that there, and I would have just slipped the pads in there. And maybe on a different episode, I'll show you that instead of replacing the whole rotor thing. So just get it up there. They could be a little bit feisty, but you just want it up out of the way far enough. And just tie it off. So it's up out of the way. Now, once you have your rotor tied up out of the way and the brake pad bracket off to the side, now we want to get on this rotor here. So with the rotor, there is a set nut in here, which we use an Allen key to get it free. Could be a little bit tricky to get out, because the vehicle, well, this one doesn't, but some vehicles off-road. So here's what actually sets the rotor onto your hub assembly. Now, in the perfect world, the rotor should just come off. Now, like on the other side, I had a little persuading to do. So, and it kind of looks like I'll also be persuading on this side. So what I'll do is hammer it from the back side, which I don't like to say that, because these rotors are grooved on this side. So when they replaced the brakes last time, they never cut the rotors, and actually didn't do it the first time. So they didn't cut the rotors, but they are grooved. The brake pads look good, so we're changing the rotors to give everything a nice smooth stopping ability and to eliminate the rotor wear. So I will show you what I used to get that off. Here's a quick little tip that might help with busting this loose, which I did do on the other side. Was I got some PB Blaster, which they say don't use any type of lubricant on the rotors or around the brake components because of the stopping and stuff. True, but we are disregarding these rotors. We are not using them, and we're putting on a fresh set. So what I'll do is, in here where the lug nuts go, I'll give a little squirt because it's on there pretty tight. and right just a little bit around here. And that's all you need. And what you want to do is get your wife or your girlfriend, your brother or sister's wash rag to clean up the mess. Use theirs because you don't want to use yours, because after you get done with this job, you're going to need one to clean yourself up. So use one of theirs, but don't let them know. And wash it before you return it back to them. And you'll never have an ending source of rags. That's the Wicked Fabz tip of the day. So now I'll show you what I do to get this off. Alright guys, so now what I'll do to get this off is I'll get the persuader. And if you're planning on keeping the rotors, I do not recommend you hit them with a persuader. But what I also do is get a block of wood behind it just to soften the impact. So you might want to cover your ears on this. Just spin the rotor. For some reason, these are tight. And there you have it. Your rotor's free. I don't know why they would have this type of setup for an off-road vehicle. I don't know. It's a lower end one maybe. I don't know. It is a pretty nice setup. Might be a good setup. I never really four-wheel drive with the Renegade. But now our rotor's free, and I'll get around and show you the install of the new one. Now that you have the rotor off, just get your handy dandy rag that you acquired from you know where and just wipe it all off. And what you can see here is how the metal and the rotor, you know, they do start to bond together over time. That's common with a lot of them. So just wipe off all the spray or whatnot. Wipe off your dust shield here. Just clean it up, make it look a little bit nicer. And it will perform better for you. So then what you do then is get your rotor. These are Raybestos rotors that I get. I always use Raybestos. I'm not going to list the parts in the description or anything like that. And I'm going over the tools that I'm using with you. So once you get your rotor, and then what I'll do is take it out of the bag, because it does have a film over it, and that comes from the factory, and that's so it does not rust on the shelf. And once you have your rotor, I always compare it to the other one, and I will show you why I changed this. See the grooves in this? I don't know if you can see that on the back side here. So you can take them out and get them shaved, but I'm not going to do that. I just went and bought new rotors for it. And you want to line it up with your holes, and remember the set screw goes in there. So just get your rotor, and there are quite a few holes here, so you want to make sure you get the right one. And that looks like it's that one there. And then all you want to do is get your Allen key, which, where is that at now? Boop, boop, boop. I'll just screw that a little bit in there until I find my Allen key. And I just used it with the rotor. Huh. Oh, here it is. Just get your Allen key and tighten your set screw back up. And there you have it. Your rotors are now on. I will take you over and show you, or we could do it here. I will show you how to replace the brake pads in the with the caliper and all that. I'll be right back, and I have to go get the shoes. Okay, so these are the brakes we'll be using. They're the Robustus ones. And I'll get them out of the box here. And I'll put them up here along with these shims. And then I will take this box, put it off to the side. And here is the bracket I was telling you about that holds the brake pads to the rotor, which holds the caliper. So, and this holds the whole unit to the rotor, to the car, to the vehicle. So make sure these are all working, which they do. They slide in and out, twist and turn. So then what you want to do is take notice on which way your brake pads go in. And just, you do it the same way as you would with them, because there is a right and a left side to this. So as you can see, there's two different ones. This one has a little tab on the back, and they also have an indicator on them to let you know that when you need the shoes are getting down the squeakers, they call them. So just get your shoes there to take the old ones out. They come out very easy. Just pop them out, and just remember as to which shoe goes to where and the orientation. So this one with the tab goes up here on this end, which will be the inside of the vehicle. And there's also anti-vibration shims here. If they don't look bad, they say you don't have to replace them, but you get them in the brake kit, so it's just best to replace them because you have them anyway. And they're simple. You just pull them off and you put these in there in its place. And they just push on there like so. Okay, like I said, watch your brake pads with this tab on the back side with your anti-squeal device. That will go on the inside of the vehicle, so that will go on this side. And they could be a little bit of pain to get in there at first, but they will go in there, and you just work them in. Whoop. Like so. That one's in, and then you'll put the other one in. Put them in at an angle and then twist them up. So there, your brake shoes have now been installed to the bracket, and we have some brake lean here, and then I will show you what the brake lean's for. So let's get back over to the vehicle. Okay everyone, here's an important step that you don't want to overlook, or sometimes you might forget, but try to always remember to take off the brake fluid cap. And that is so that when you compress the piston on the caliper, it'll come up easier, because it's all done by vacuum and pressure, so that you're more or less relieving the pressure in the lines by doing it. You're not getting any air in the lines, you're just pushing the fluid back up to its reservoir. So now I'll take you over there and show you how to close the piston. Okay guys and gals, now look how nice and shiny that was. Remember we did hit it with the JB Blast, but we did wipe everything down, or PB Blaster? Well, this is what the brake lean's for. you want to, being that this is shipped from the factory with a protective coating on it, all you want to do is just give it a nice soaking to eliminate all that protectant covering on the rotor. And do the back side also. Have a drip pan there for you, yourself. And I'll just let it dries pretty quick, so I'll just let it drip dry there for a little bit. And then now what I'll do is, once that somewhat dries up, which it almost is already, which you'll see me spray this a couple more times, is now I will get the caliper, and this is the tricky part because you can't pull it out here, you have to do it under the vehicle. But let me get my vise, get one of the old brake shoes, get your vise, or your C-clamp, I'm sorry. And then now you just want to get your rotor, your caliper. Move your rope. And what I'll do is just lay it right there on top of the rotor. And I always use the ceramic side of the brake pad to the piston, which you could put it the other way, but just for this I'll do it that way, because some people say it's better, some people it's preference. All you're using the brake pad is to push it back in. Just open your C-clamp up, and then all you're going to do is just hook your C-clamp on there and just tighten it. And the piston works its way back in. Nice and easy. And if you didn't have the top off on your reservoir, on your master cylinder there, you'd be really cranking on this to get the pressure back up. So this is just nice, slow, steady pressure, and you'll feel it. And then once your piston's closed, then all you do is take off your C-clamp, your brake pad, and as you can see, your piston's closed. And then you will get your assembly here that holds your brake pads on. You will slide that in there, and there are the tabs on the back. We're getting there. And then you will get the two small 14mm bolts that you took out of the back side, and you will replace them. Put them back into the back of the caliper. And then what I like to do is just double check some of my work here, make sure I'm not missing anything. My handy rag. Okay, so now we know our caliper or our rotor's dry, and just move your brake pads apart a little bit, and then all you're going to do is put this back in place. And replace your screws. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be right back. Alright, once you got your top bolt back in, or somewhat started, then get your bottom bolt, and you are going to put it right back in there again. And you might have to move the bracket around a little bit to get it to catch. And it looks like I got them all caught. Then I will get my ratchet. Give these a good tightening. Sorry for the noise. Try and quiet it up for you. There we go. Get that just a little bit snug. Then I'll move on to the top one. Get that one to come in. Sometimes you could do them by hand to get them really down there. And then other times you just have to use your ratchet. A ratcheting will go, a ratcheting will go. Hi-ho the dairy-o, a ratcheting will go. Okay, once you got them down and snug, then just tighten them up. You don't have to don't over tighten them by hitting them with the hammer or that. Just hand tighten them. Put a nice snug to them. And double check it. And now remember, we put these in also, so now we also have to tighten them. Don't forget to tighten those. And the same thing, just tight. You don't have to wrench down on it or crank down on them. Just ensure you got them snug fit, tight fit. And also inspect your brake lines while you have everything off. And, you know, nothing's twisted or bent. I'm going to hit this with some more of this brake lean. And we'll be right back. Okay, guys. Once you have, and gals, once you have all your stuff reassembled, which just take your time. It's not hard to do. Just get your brake lean again and just go over the whole surface area again. You know, pick up 2 or 3 cans of this. It's not expensive, and you'll have it for the next job you'll do. This job I went probably, I'm on my 2nd can, so probably about 1.5 cans to do both sides. And spin it around. And there you have it. Your brakes have now been installed. It's all done. The only thing that's left to do is to put the wheel back on, put it back on the ground. We'll start it up. Now follow these steps and you'll be fine. Put it back down on the ground. Well, once you put the wheel on, of course. Don't forget to put your cap back on your your brake reservoir. And then once you start it up, once the tire's on, your cap's back on, it's on the ground, start it up, let it run, and then slowly and easily just keep pushing your foot on the brake until you get pressure on your brakes. And you should be good to go. I'm going to button this up, take it for a test ride. Maybe in the next video, we'll talk about head gaskets and how important it is to periodically check your head gaskets. So, I might have a story for you on that. But hey, if you like what you see, give me a big thumbs up. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll be more than happy to get back to you on this. Don't forget about your rag. Either discard it or hurry up and throw it in the wash if you think somebody's going to miss it. Smash down on that subscribe button. I'm Joe. Driving trucks and hunting bucks is how I roll with Wicked Fabz.